What is going on, everyone? Jonathan here with the Venue RX podcast, and I'm pumped. We are so close to Christmas right now, and you're going to be listening to this probably in February, but I'm excited because I get to talk to somebody who has been on this podcast again, who dropped so many amazing knowledge bombs, who is so filled with inspiration, energy, motivation, and also a lot of the tactics and tools that we need to succeed as business owners. And so, Terrica, thank you so much for popping on the show for the second time.
Oh my gosh, no pressure with that intro, right? And I'm like, God, what can I say this time? What did I say last time? Well, no, thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped as well to be here. It's always amazing. To chat with you and to be with you. And I'm going to just publicly apologize before we even get started. Guys, Jonathan went in to hug me at Wedding MBA and I made the mistake of like turning, and I feel like such a horrible person. So please know, and I'm warning your wife now, I am giving you the biggest, longest hug the next time I see you in person.
I love it. Literally, it was so funny. I had to laugh at myself because honestly, it was all me. Like I think I read the situation. I was like, oh, we were almost done talking. And for those of you who don't know, if you're watching online, you're just going to see my face and a beautiful picture of Terrica. But you know, we were at Wedding MBA together like a month ago, and we just had wrapped up our interview. I was like, wow, Terrica, it's so great to see you, because that was my first time actually meeting her in person. and I thought she was going to hug me. So I went in for a hug, and it was all me though. Like I went, and then I was like, oh, it was like that missed handshake. You know, you're like, oh.
Yes. No. And I was like, oh, I totally would have hugged you. I just was not paying attention. So I'm so sorry. I'm giving you the biggest, longest hug the next time I see you.
I love it. I'm here for it. It's so funny. It was so great. Well, like I was referring to, I did see you at Wedding MBA, and you were talking about different personalities that people experience in businesses. I'm excited today to talk to you about a very important topic, I think, for those new business owners who are in this space, or maybe even business owners who have been around for a year, maybe a year and a half, but essentially you're a baby in this industry. Terrica, you have helped so many people with their businesses get clarity. You have such an amazing presence online, and we're going to plug, everything that you do down in the description so that people can go and check that out. But one of the things that I feel like you really, really do is you are able to help give people some of the confidence that they may be lacking, and especially for those new business owners. I want to give them a little bit of encouragement today. So,
thank you.
Let's start off right away. If you're a new business owner in this space, in the creative space, what are some common problems that you kind of see again and again and again as you're working with people? What are some things that you just see coming up repeatedly that folks can kind of focus on right away at the beginning of the year, this first quarter?
Well, you know what, Jonathan, here's the thing. Here's what's so crazy is that we've never had a situation like this. Like, we're still planning within a pandemic, right? I've never had to deal with that before. Nobody else is, and I've been in the industry, it'll be 17 years next month. I've never had to deal with that before. So I can't imagine what it's like dealing with the typical struggles of entrepreneurship. And then especially in the wedding industry, especially when there's going to be 2.6 million weddings happening next year. And, you're going to have a plethora of different couples coming in and somewhat pitting you against your quote unquote competition or your colleagues, but then to have to mix in the mindsets that go along with being in a pandemic. So if you are starting a business, if you're getting in the industry, if you got into it this year, last year, or you're thinking about really taking the plunge next year, first and foremost, let me commend you, because you are made of tough stuff. And I think one of the things that I see in general is that there is such a lack of confidence when it comes to pricing. There is, a mindset of where people are like, well, I'm new, so I can't really charge XYZ, or I'm just going to throw this in and maybe that will make them hire me. Baby, stop all that noise. Absolutely not. Now, no, you can't charge what I charge, because yes, I do bring some experience. I do have a certain process that's in place, but you are absolutely worth your value, and you should charge for your time. And I think that that's something that makes me so sad when I meet with people and I'm like, okay, well, tell me about your business. Oh, I've been in business for about 6 months. How's it going? It's not. I just had one client and I did her full service wedding for $1,000. And after I picked myself up off the floor and, they get the smelling salts and all of that stuff, I'm like, okay, so how did that work out? Right? Like, tell me how that worked out, because I'm pretty sure somebody's bills, mainly yours, didn't get paid, because there's absolutely no way. When it takes over 400 hours to plan a wedding and you're charging just $1,000, like the math ain't mathin', baby. It's just not working. So
math ain't mathin'. I like that.
The math ain't mathin'. It ain't mathin'. So my biggest suggestion would be to figure out what's really great in your market. Right. So, and here's the thing too, you really have to have a come to Jesus with yourself. You really have to be honest with yourself. Like, yes, I love big, glamorous ballroom weddings, but if you are in a rural area that does not have ballrooms, you are going to think that it's you.
Yeah.
A fish will always think that it is incapable and incompetent if you judge its ability to climb a tree. That's not what they do. So you have to look at your market and you have to make sure that what you want, what your brand reputation is, what your brand service is, what your signature style is, what your signature service is going to be, actually exists and can thrive in your market. You may have to travel to work, right? You may have to go to another county, you may have to go to another city to find your work. And then, of course, that also needs to be built into your pricing as well. But if you want to stay within your market, as opposed to trying to make the market fit to you, figure out how you can bloom in your market. So maybe they don't have the big ballroom weddings, but you can turn a barn or you can turn a rustic tent into something super glamorous. So just make sure that people are going to literally buy what you're selling in your market. That's the first thing. And then as you figure that out, figure out what you want to offer. What is going to be your signature style? What's going to be your signature service? Are you going to use different systems in order to help your clients along with their events, to help your creative partners, your vendors along? And then figure out how many hours it takes to pull all of that together, how many systems it takes, and the cost of all of that. That's what you need to be basing your pricing on, not what XYZ is charging, not what clients are telling you is a good price, but actually what it costs for you to service a client, and then also for you to meet your overhead and for you to make some money. Baby, you are totally allowed to make some money, completely allowed.
Yes.
If your clients can't afford it, that is none of your business. That is absolutely none of your business. It's a lot. It's a lot of people out here hiring, Jonathan. I just came from McDonald's and it was a big old now hiring sound. It's a lot of folks out here hiring. They can get the money.
Yep.
And I say this all of the time too, like weddings are a luxury. I fully accept that, full stop, because it could on average, it could cost you maybe $150 to get married. You go down to the courthouse, you get your little license thing, you pay a judge or you pay a notary, and then you're done.
Yeah.
Does not cost much to get married. It costs money to have a wedding. And I feel like that's the other thing. And I know I keep talking and Jonathan's probably want to jump in this double dutch.
You're crushing it. I love it.
Let me tell you something. Money does not have feelings. So you cannot allow clients to guilt you into saying, oh, it's my special day. And, I really want this, but I only wanted to spend that. That's none of my business. Absolutely none of my business about what you wanted to spend. My prices are based on the service that I provide for you, not your budget. Because I also have to live. I have 4 children. I have a cat with warrants. My cat is literally the Suge Knight of my subdivision. She is the absolute worst. So I'm constantly bailing her out of jail. I have expenses. So I cannot write Georgia Power or Wells Fargo and say, hey, listen, guys, my bride, my groom, my whoever, they really didn't have the money to pay me, but they really wanted a nice event. Nobody's cutting me any slack on this. And I'm not saying that we can't, be compassionate about anything. But what I'm saying is that this is a business. It's not a friendship. It's not any of that, it is a business. And if you want to be taken seriously, you have to approach it as a business, and also understand that not every client is your client either. You know what I mean? So,
and Terrica, you're speaking from, your experience over a decade, close to two decades almost, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
17 years, you said?
Yes. 17 years. My goodness.
So this really is, I think, the main differentiator between a true professional and an amateur, because the professional knows they've maybe compromised sometimes, right? They've burned. So they have that feeling of what that felt like. They don't want to do that anymore. And they're still in
ever again. Exactly. I've done that before. I have done that.
Experience. Not
absolutely. Absolutely. I've lowballed. I didn't undercut anybody, but I've definitely charged low because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to work again. If I don't charge this, I'm not going to work again. But I also realized that it was also not putting me in the circles that I wanted to be in. I wasn't working at the venues that would bring me the prestigious events or that were along my style too. Because I also think that it's very important for us to understand everybody's like, oh, luxury and high end. That doesn't always exist in everybody's market. However, you can make a ton of money off of the budget weddings, the moderate weddings that exist in your area if you have your systems in place. But I know for me, for where I am, there are a lot of venues that are like that. And I was not getting there because I was seen as like the budget one. And yeah, so I would never tell you guys anything that I haven't been through myself, or one of those do as I say and not as I do type of things. I get it. It can be scary when you're like, oh, I'm not getting any inquiries, or I haven't closed anybody, so I'm just going to go on and give them a discount because I have to work. But in the end, you're actually costing your brand way more than just another event. You are literally risking your reputation.
Terrica, I have two questions about this. One, let's say that someone hears you saying this and they're like, wow, great. I've got now some confidence. Terrica's helped, boost me up a little bit. I'm feeling good now. I'm going to only take clients that are kind of my dream clients. They're my target clients. They're they create maybe an avatar of who this person is, or the market that they want to serve, the specific niche. Maybe they even go to your website and download a free tool. They contact you, they work with somebody, right? But then there's no leads. Then there's they've turned down a couple people because they just heard you say that. They're like, okay, I'm not going to be lowballed. I'm not going to take that $1,000 full service, wedding planning gig. But there's no clients, and they're getting a little nervous, and they're starting to see that fear. What things should they be looking at? Like, what could be wrong about what they're doing?
That's totally valid. Okay. Completely valid. So definitely understand there are ebbs and flows to everything. We all have different seasons as well. My students are literally across the globe. And even when I talk to the ones that are in the States, like my peak season is their downtime and vice versa. So get to know when your seasons are. So that way, if you are suffering from what I like to call snow blindness because your calendar is all white, you know what? I'm kind of okay because I know that this is going to be a down season. The first thing that you have to do after, go on and scream it out. You know what I mean? Go get your pillow, scream into it, whatever you got to do, get all of that out, is to figure out where your leads are coming from. So we'll just use Instagram as an example. Okay. So if a majority of your leads are coming from Instagram, then I need for you to start using Instagram like a hustler and not a couple, not a client. So you have to have some really great content to be put out. And some people are like, well, I don't have content because I'm brand new. We're going to create content. So when you're creating your content to attract people who are on Instagram, we're going to hit it in two different ways. One, we want to come up with a content plan that is going to show our expertise, our personality, and also educate. So whatever your posting schedule is going to be, if you post every day, if you post every other day, if you post once a week, you can pick whatever it is that you want. I say you can be anything in this world, but don't be ungrateful and don't be inconsistent. The same thing goes for Instagram. You can't be inconsistent. You can't post, 7 days a week, 2 days straight, and then we don't hear from you for like 3 weeks. I'm like, wow, did she get beat for tax evasion? Like, what happened?
And this is hurting some people right now because I know people are looking at their Instagram feeds going, I haven't posted since the December 1st. Here we are.
Right.
They're going to throw up a Merry Christmas post maybe, and then leave it,
And here's how that hurts is that if you haven't posted in 3 weeks, and then you come out with a post, it's not going to get a lot of traction on it because Instagram is like, well, we don't know if you're going to stick around or if you're going to be anywhere. So as you come up with your content plan, I want you to start coming up with post ideas for you to educate your clients. What is it that they need to know? What is it that you are always asked? What is it that they're always doing wrong? What is it that they could do better? So if you can just come up with 4 of those, and we do those once a week, we've got, a month of education posts right there. Then we can do some promotional posts. And your promotional posts can be of your work. They can be of your styled shoots. You can do some personal posts where you share a little bit about yourself, because it's going to be very important that your clients get to know you or they form some sort of bond with you as well. And then some inspirational stuff. Again, it could be detailed pictures. It could be a quote. Quotes always get a lot of great traction as far as inspiration too. So if you think about that in terms of that, and not just, oh my gosh, all I can post are weddings, then this kind of helps you figure out what you need to be doing and who you need to be talking to. So that's just you talking to your audience. You also have to be a part of conversations. So follow the correct hashtags, both your niche hashtags, which are going to be the ones that are local to your area. So like hashtag St. Louis wedding planner, hashtag Omaha wedding photographer. Follow those. And then, set notifications for your favorite venues. So every time your favorite venue posts, you should be in their comments. Because why? We know that potential couples are going to be there. It takes a couple at least 7 times to see you before they actually reach out. Why don't you get in front of them in the comments of the venue that they actually love? So it's like, oh yeah, I see you. Well, you're also with this photographer that I love too. So you know what? I'm going to reach out to you because I see you're connected to the people that I want to work with, or that are my dream vendors, or that I am working with. So that's using Instagram kind of like a hustler, is to get in there and figure out what conversations are having and how can I be a part of that conversation. Another tip. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, love.
No. I was just going to say that's powerful. And I feel like a lot of people, me included, I mean, I'm speaking here from a guilty standpoint. You get trapped in that never ending black hole of reels, you're just scrolling through the reels. You're consuming instead of creating the content.
Exactly.
You're helping us really get, to the place where we're creating those opportunities for us, for ourselves, for our businesses, even if we don't even have what we feel like is like a reputation yet.
Exactly. Because what's going to happen is that you have a personality and you have skill before you have your reputation. So let's go on and build that. And what we want to, here's why it's so important to have those educational posts and those those inspirational posts too, because right now Instagram is giving more clout to those accounts that are having their content shared and saved. So if you're teaching someone about which flowers are in season, if you are teaching someone about, how to have a cocktail style reception and they're saving it, that's telling Instagram, wow, this person is like really on their stuff. So we need to show more of their content to a vast audience. So they'll, you can beat the algorithm that way. And even though, we have our posts and we have our reels, don't forget your stories. You can truly, truly rock out your stories. Maybe you want to go on a tour of a venue and it's like, hey, spend a day with me at XY venue in my stories. And I say post to 5 to 7 stories whenever you're having a quote unquote story day, because you want to give someone a chance to get hooked into your story before they roll out. You know how it is. We watch Hulu, we watch Netflix. Especially Hulu. Hulu is so disrespectful. Hulu does not care about your bandwidth, about your Wi-Fi at all. It will play every single thing in their library. It will not ask you if you are still watching. It does not care. Yep. Stories are the exact same way. So if you're just posting one story and somebody's not paying attention, they will miss it. So that's why I say 5 to 7. If you're feeling, a little bit out of it, at least 3 to 5. But give them something to follow and to get attached to, and that they can save and that they can send to someone else. That's going to be really important. So those are my tips. If you're feeling nervous and you want to attract more of your ideal client and they're coming from Instagram, also keep in mind too, this isn't just pertinent to like wedding venues or wedding photographers when I'm telling you to get into their comments. Maybe your dream client, your target client likes a certain brand. Like maybe they love, Louboutins, or they love Home Goods, or they love Hobby Lobby or Joanne, whatever it is, get in those comments as well. Share comments, share content and stories from those accounts to your own account, to your stories where they only live for 24 hours. So that way more people are like, oh, wow, I like that too, or I do that too. And it's another bridge from you to your potential client.
And in a sense, that's almost evergreen content because you're
absolutely
putting that comment there, but that comment is going to live on that post. And as people are going back through and looking at stuff, I mean, you might get somebody who's, getting married in 2023 who goes back and is looking on posts from 6 months ago at a venue.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Terrica, are you seeing other opportunities for this sort of like virtual networking essentially on other platforms other than Instagram? Or from your perspective, are we really seeing a lot more impact possible on the Instagram platform right now?
Well, Instagram is always great to network. One thing that I absolutely love, and I think is definitely going to take 2022 by storm, is All Seated's Expo program. If you have not been on it, it is like a mix between Zoom meets The Sims. If anybody played The Sims back in the day, it's a 3D metaverse where you go in and you can actually network with people virtually. You can attend networking events. You can attend workshops. You can attend sessions, cooking demos. Like last week, they had Home for the Holidays. And like we were watching all of our favorite chefs cook a dish and make a cocktail. And we were in the quote unquote metaverse. And then they made it snow and they had the virtual fireplace going. So
and All Seated is doing this?
Yes, All Seated. It's called Expo, EXVO, and it's absolutely amazing. I do a lot of workshops in it. Like I said, the Home for the Holidays demos were phenomenal. Almost burnt my kitchen down, but they are so good. So I think that, whether or not you want to create something for your potential clients, maybe you want to do like an evening with the experts, right? You can either do it in person or you can do it virtually on, a platform like Expo, and you have like a vendor per vendor category to just come in and have a free for all, like ask us questions, pick our brains. I tell my students to have an evening with the experts at least once a quarter, because what it does is that it builds this relationship with potential clients. Your potential couples are going to be more apt to hire you if they have a relationship with you, if they feel like they can trust you. You can do that, of course, with your content, either in your blog or Instagram or Facebook if you're using Facebook, but you can also do that with these networking events too. So that's definitely something I see.
I love that. That's a really powerful tip. And I think when you are early on in your career and you maybe don't have, you've got that snow blindness. I love that. That's another sweet little saying there. But, if you do have that snow blindness, wide open calendar, you're like, what am I going to do? You can fill your time with contributing to the community like this and finding ways to serve other people, finding ways to, interface and kind of keep things moving forward. And you're getting your face out there, sometimes even in ways that businesses that are established that have a full calendar can't do.
Absolutely. So take advantage of it. Take advantage.
I have another question that I think bugs pretty much everyone. I don't know. I'd actually like to hear if you've ever experienced this, but let's talk imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Because I think this is something, we were talking about pricing. We were talking about, not selling yourself short. And I think that there's this natural propensity to have a little bit of fear about our own self-worth, and really struggling with going to that place where we actually feel comfortable and confident charging the prices that we're worth and making the claims, maybe even on the website, maybe in person. Like, I do a great job at X. I think it's so much easier to be critical of ourselves than to be positive about ourselves and to say those things that are true. And so have you ever experienced imposter syndrome, either as you were early on in your career or even as you were transitioning to start, being an educator in the space? And so if you have, how did you overcome that? How did you get to a place where you are confident and you have that charisma and that very, very, I mean, it's evident, when anyone talks to you, when they see you at Wedding MBA, I think even it comes through in your voice over here, on the podcast. So talk to me about those two things.
Yeah. So I definitely suffered from it when I first got started. In the middle, now it's not something that ever goes away. Life doesn't go away. And for me, I had to really sit back and ask myself, do I have imposter syndrome? Do I not think that, I'm not good enough? Or in certain areas of my life, both personally and professionally, have my contributions been devalued? Have I been made to think that I wasn't good enough or that I couldn't do things, so that when good things do come my way, I'm like, I don't trust it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this or whatever. So I think that that's a very valid question that everybody needs to ask. Is it us saying those things to ourselves? Is it something that has been programmed into us as well? And the way that I began to overcome it, and the way that I overcome it now, is that I make a point to squeeze my sponge. A lot of people have heard me say this. I teach a session about self-care and work-life balance. And when I go up on stage, I will put a sponge in a bowl of water and I'll go about the session. And then towards the end, I take it out and I say, look, this has been sitting here this entire time and now it's full, but it's not any good to anybody, right? Like I can't clean effectively with it because it's full of water. It's not going to do a good job. And it also can't take anything else in. So you have to squeeze your sponge. You have to squeeze your sponge of any of the negative thoughts, of any of the doubts. And then you have to pour into yourself as much as you pour into someone else. I had to love myself as much as I love my clients, as much as I love my students, as much as I love my children, in order to be effective and to be, the person that everybody sees on Instagram. And that's why when people say things like, oh my gosh, you're so brave or you're so great. And I'm like, thanks. It took a lot of hard work to get there, but I love me. And there is not one person in this county, city, state, parish, none of it, this universe, is ever going to change the way that I feel about me. And I know that I'm capable. So I always make a point to drain all of the negativity and make sure that I'm pouring back into myself as well. It's you having imposter syndrome. If you are listening to me, it's nothing wrong with you. Absolutely nothing wrong with you. Everybody goes through it, but you don't have to stay there. What we offer to our industry, what we offer to our couples is so very important. It is possibly one of the only times in anyone's life when they're getting married where they will have everyone that they love all in one room, from different phases of their lives. And while they are celebrating, it literally takes a village to pull all of that together. It is hard work. If it wasn't hard, everybody would do it. So it means a lot that we have these phenomenal professionals that come in, they take off whatever they're dealing with at home, whatever they're dealing with at the office, to create a magical environment so that just for this one moment, this group of family and friends can celebrate. It's not lighthearted. You're not just a planner. You're not just a photographer. You're not just a venue space. You are literally an alchemist. You are literally a magician that can transform a place, a moment, music, food, into this magical time, this memory, this long-standing memory for someone else. Don't ever let anybody take that away from you. Not with your pricing, not with your services. That's why I'm so adamant when people are like, oh my God, well, can you just take this out? We don't need this. You may not need it, but I do. Mm-hmm. You may not need it, but my vendors need it because they're so used to me doing those things. That's how I create the environment. That's how I create the experience. So don't let anybody take that away from you and what you have to give.
Terrica, that is powerful.
Thank you.
If there's something that we can leave 2021 and really enter 2022 with, mm-hmm. I think that's it, to look back at the small wins that we've had and to understand that those wins, the more that we are making that progress and the more that we're reminding ourselves of who we are and what we're capable of and what we've overcome and really where we are, and not just, like you said, I love, that's a beautiful analogy, like being a sponge and just absorbing mm-hmm. everything around us. Mm-hmm. You've got to squeeze it, you've got to get rid of it, and you've got to be intentional about what you're allowing in your head.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My father always used to tell me that in school. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so mad. So-and-so did something. And he would always say, don't ever allow anybody to live in your head rent free. So absolutely. You gotta, like you said, I love that. Be very intentional about what you allow in your space.
That's powerful. And Terrica, another interesting thing, you were talking about weddings. You really were connecting the trade of what we do with a really deeper meaning. And I think with imposter syndrome, or if you're feeling you're doubting yourself a little bit, I don't think you're going back and connecting with kind of like the essence of
exactly.
You use that word alchemist, which I love. And it's just like you're creating magic. And the more that you think about, I'm just doing an action, I'm just planning a wedding, I'm just planning a wedding. It's not that. And just by even saying that, I think you're devaluing yourself, and in your head, you're just like a wedding planner instead of an experience creator,
Exactly.
Like difference of words, but I think it definitely makes a difference to people because they start seeing themselves differently, and it connects.
Absolutely. And that's my thing too. We have so many companies in the industry that have like the same name or similar names, or they have the same logo kind of, or the same colors or whatever. And you kind of see somewhat of people like running into each other, like it all blends together, and they're like, oh, I could never, be myself, or I could never show this. Please don't rob us of the opportunity of getting to know you and getting to know what makes you you, and how you what you bring to the table, and how that can just totally transform an event. So yes, like you said, it's a change of words, but it's also a change of mindset that all of us desperately need.
I love it. We're not going to get into the team thing, although I think that we at some point have to talk about like team and some of the VA stuff that we were talking about before.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And we won't get into that now, but something else that I think is relevant to mention here is when you do that as a business leader, whether you're early on in your business or later on in your business, when you're not only showing who you are to the world and to your clients, but also to your team, it allows you to attract more like-minded people who will actually serve your clients the way you want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I can't be you, Terrica, right? Like no one can be you. You're you. You're going to kind of own that spot, and you're going to bring your experiences and your, everything that you come with. And so the people that join your team are going to amplify that. But if you're trying to wear other hats and you're trying to like be something that you're not at the same time, you're going to attract those other people. And then it's going to feel really,
it's going to feel so gross. It's going to feel so gross. And then you're just wasting time, right? You're wasting time. You're wasting money. You are possibly making some clients angry because they may have thought that they were going to get one thing and then they get something else. So, yep, I'm 10,000% there with you.
I love it. Terrica, well, thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Time out. It's just for Christmas here. And I know everyone's going to hear this later on, but whenever you're listening to this, I want you to go check out the work that Terrica is doing. Check out her website. It's Terrica Inc., terricainc.com, I believe. Everything's going to be in the description, both on podcast and on YouTube. And obviously we did another episode with Terrica that kind of explains a little bit more of her origin story. So that's obviously a fun one, and we'll link that as well. But Terrica, I just want to thank you for everything that you do to push our industry forward. You're on stage.
Thank you.
You're taking the time with me here to really help and inspire people. And so I appreciate everything that you do for
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
All right. Well, everyone, have an amazing week. Keep pushing forward in your businesses, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks, Terrica.
Thank you.